Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. To see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Published in 1863, William Blake's poem Auguries of Innocence opens with a series of paradoxes that describe a moral posture towards the natural world. In line after line, he holds innocent and neutral features of creation in high esteem, suggesting that the ways in which these things are treated serve as the thermometer for society's moral temperature. Eloquently, the poem dances between metaphors. Some describe inert material, others flourishing life forms. Yet again and again, the poet makes the same argument, that the fabric of the universe is woven with morally resonant threads. Everything, he argues, even a mere grain of sand, holds the moral weight of an entire world. Today, we are coming to better appreciate this attitude. Environmental ethics is steering us in the right direction, encouraging us to recognize our responsibility to care for both the animate and inanimate world around us. Though it has completely transformed the way we relate to things like garbage and waste, I think there's still more room for us to grow. In this week's Parsha, we are introduced to an ancient ethic of material responsibility. Unlike the poem, Parashat Terumah paints a different kind of granular picture. The Parsha contains detailed instructions for how to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the portable sanctuary that accompanied the Israelites through their wandering in the desert. The Parsha begins like this. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, God spoke to Moses, saying, Daber el b'nei Yisrael, vayikchu li truma, me'et kol ish asher yidvenu libo tikchu trumati. Tell the Israelite people to bring me gifts. You shall accept gifts from me, from every person whose heart is so moved. In essence, the word truma is a material contribution, an offering for sacred use, a donation. The Parsha continues by explaining which trumot, which donations are needed to build the Mishkan, one of the single most holy spaces in all of our people's history. V'zot ha-truma asher tikchu me'itam, and this is the donation that you shall take from them. Zahav, v'chesef, u'nechoshet, utchelet, v'argaman, v'tolat, shani, v'shesh, v'izim, gold and silver and bronze and indigo and purple and crimson and linen and goat's hair, and the list goes on and on. It really, really goes on. 92 of the 96 verses in this week's Parsha describe in intricate detail which materials are to be used and how. The Parsha reads like a blueprint, a construction work order, just a list of stuff. I used to think that literature like this resembled a more scientific worldview. Objective analyses trying to understand something by breaking it down into elemental pieces until they can comport with our capacities for understanding. An amazingly precise endeavor to justify the observable universe, seeing things as just this or just that, and usually nothing more. At first blush, Terumah reads a little like scientific literature of this kind. What is the Mishkan? Just a tent whose blueprint and materials are presented in line after line of unvocalized Hebrew. At first blush, the Mishkan is just an extremely precise and complex collection of material. But in the outlying 4 verses, the text reminds us that it was so much more than that the assemblage of these pieces transformed into something that could no longer be understood as just a sum of its parts. Follow these instructions exactly, said Hashem, and something supremely sacred, a mishkan, will emerge before you. A tabernacle that facilitated the encounter between the people and the presence of God. Va'asuli mikdash v'shachanti betocham. And they shall make me a tabernacle that I may abide in their midst. And the text doubles down. Only a few verses later, Hashem says to Moshe, and I shall meet with you there and speak with you in the Mishkan. In his commentary, Chaim ibn Attar, an 18th century Moroccan rabbi, notes that the text does not say, build me a sanctuary that I might abide within its midst, bitocho in the singular, but rather it says bitocham, in their midst, plural, as if to say within them, meaning within the children of Israel. However you read this verse, it is still striking that the material world plays such a crucial role in facilitating this sacred encounter. Build me a sanctuary, says the text, and you will become like one. Build me a mishkan, marshal the material world forward, and the sacred will emerge. Today, the language of emergence is finding its footing in academic literature. In an article published only 1 month ago titled, What is Emergence After All?, the researcher Abbas Rizi noted that, quote, the term emergence is increasingly used across scientific disciplines to describe phenomena that arise from interactions among a system's components, but cannot be readily inferred by examining those components in isolation. For example, a single molecule of water does not behave like a whole bunch of them. In fact, one molecule of water is not subject to the laws of fluid dynamics at all. But when you gather up enough of them, say a gallon's worth, it starts to behave a little differently. The physics of water changes depending on how much of it you have and how it is ordered. In this sense, the field of fluid dynamics is a study of water's emergent properties. Simply put, emergence contends that a whole can be more than just the sum of its parts. Terumah reminds us that sacrality is also an emergent property. It's not innate, not imbued, but generated from within a system itself. Assemble the pieces, and they will take on entirely new characteristics, new identities even. I love this idea. I think it resonates deeply with a religious disposition. To look at the world through the lens of emergence is to see it as both a complex system of pieces and something far greater than their sum. As religious Jews, we are all well aware of this principle. Much like the Mishkan, we too construct material sanctuaries in order to help facilitate our encounters with the divine. Tonight, the CJL, this beautiful building that we're all in, made of wood and metal, is doing just that. Might have a little less goat's hair than the tabernacle, but I think it's doing a good job. We look around this room and intuitively we feel a sense of the sacred, ushered in by beautiful music, timeless traditions, the warmth of community, and the glow of the Shabbat candles. Put these pieces together and it will yield something sacred. Not because we want it to, rather because we know that a transformation occurs when things line up just right. Terumah reminds us that a sacred thread runs through the litany of objects. More than this, it encourages us to adopt an ethic of responsibility towards the material world, for it too is replete with the potential for the emergence of the sacred. These things, this stuff, when regarded correctly, helps us to reach beyond ourselves and touch, if only for a fleeting moment, the transcendent. Now, I don't imagine that William Blake was thinking of the Mishkan when he wrote his poem, but I do think he envisioned a reality where individuals seriously considered their relationship to the natural world. And this Shabbat, I want to encourage you all to do the same, to see yourself as a sanctuary and to appreciate, when they might emerge, the sparks of the sacred.